Hello, 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 and welcome back to Writer's Tips and Feedback. I am Samantha Wright. I am a writer, hobbyist photographer, and a wife. As you can see, today's video is about beta reading etiquette. This video is going to go over how writers and beta readers don't always know how to go about working together, which results in less than useful feedback and mostly unpleasant feelings on the whole process. I'm not sure everyone is getting the overall enjoyment and benefit of the beta reading process. Writers and readers are not coming together and understanding what we both do for each other. If not for our writers, we wouldn't be able to be readers. And if not for readers, we would not be able to be writers because nobody would read our stuff. So we really need to remember that we both need each other to balance out supply and demand. So exactly how do we go about working together? There needs to be a mutual understanding of what is expected on both ends, because both people do have things that are expected of them, and it doesn't seem like they do. The person reading is going out of their way to help the writer out, and so it's important to let them know that the writer appreciates their time and energy. First, let's touch base on the writer's expectations, and yes, we as writers do have expectations. It is often thought that writers just send the manuscript off to the beta and our work is done until it's sent back to us. But technically that's really not the case. We do have a lot more to do with the process than what it seems we do. A lot of the problem does come from the writers not giving direction. That snowballs the issues throughout the whole process. Firstly, writers need to be clear on what they expect out of the process and from the reader. We can't rely on the readers to know exactly what we want them to do. Only the writer can know exactly what you're looking for in this whole exchange. So make sure you are clear about what you want and what you are looking for. Make sure the reader knows how you want to do the whole process. Are you sending the entire manuscript or are you shelling it out chapter by chapter? Are you going to be doing interviews at the end? Are you just going to let them do the whole manuscript and get it over with, then give you feedback? Or are you going to do it, like I said, chapter by chapter? You got to let the reader know because they're just going to take the whole thing and do what they think they're supposed to do. Personally, I think you should make it easier on the reader and compile a file with specific questions on certain aspects of the story and send it along with the manuscript. This way, the reader is able to read over your questions before they begin reading, and then they can keep the questions in mind as they read so they can know what they're looking for instead of guessing at what they should be paying attention to. That alone is the writer's responsibility, and if you're not doing that, then the fact the reader's not giving it to you at the end is solely your fault. So what then is the reader's expectations? Of course, they should respect the writer's time and deliver in a timely manner, assuming the writer has given them a realistic deadline. The reader should also take direction from the writer and pay attention to the specific areas of the story they were asked to pay attention to. There's no point in a beta reader spending time fixing all the grammar when you're more interested in the story, the plot, the characters, and things of that nature. There's no point in it. When it comes down to it, if they're fixing all your grammar and stuff, they might not be paying attention to the other aspects of the story. And not only that, people might not agree with me, and I don't really have a care in the world if they don't agree with me. I do not feel you should have to polish your manuscript in order to send it to a beta reader. I do not believe that you need to spend all that time and effort perfecting your manuscript just to send it to someone who is going to basically rip it apart, in a sense, and send it back to you with a shit ton of stuff to fix. I don't feel polishing it at that time is the best way to go. Many people will disagree with me, and everyone is different. The reader shouldn't hesitate to ask the writer questions if needed, even before finishing the reading. The writer is going to appreciate the fact that you're taking initiative to ask the questions if you don't understand. If you don't know, just ask. The reader should offer helpful feedback. There's nothing helpful when it comes to harsh feedback, so there's no reason to give it. I am a firm believer there is always a nice way to say something. You can say something so insulting to somebody, and yet they find it helpful to the point where it's not necessarily insulting anymore because they find some truth within it. You can say, this sentence reads like shit, by saying, I think you need to reword this sentence because it's a little wordy. Or this sentence sounds a little odd when I read it. Maybe you should rework it and restructure the sentence. Two very different ways to say something. One is going to make someone feel like crap. The other is going to make them think, I just need to reword this. The other issue is, the reader is not going to always enjoy the story, but that should not affect the quality of your feedback. I don't enjoy every single story I beta read. Trust me. There's been a few where I've not been interested, but I committed to it, I read it, and I gave unbiased opinions. What it comes down to is setting aside your own personal likes and dislikes, and go with the technical aspect. If the story makes sense, the story could possibly interest someone who's actually interested in that topic or subject. I read a story once about dragons. Talking dragons. Now, some of you might enjoy talking dragons. I am not a talking dragon kind of gal, but I read it because I committed to reading it. I definitely was not 100% interested, but the story did keep me there. I was actually surprised at how interesting the story turned out to be. There's no reason to make someone feel badly just because you specifically didn't enjoy the story. Perhaps you're not their target audience. So your opinion really shouldn't matter at that point. If you honestly cannot give unbiased opinions on the story you are reading, you need to get a hold of that writer and you need to explain to them that you're reading and you're not able to separate your personal likes and dislikes to finish your commitment to the story. If you're unable to do that, I find that a little sad. We all do things we don't necessarily like in life, and when you give someone a commitment, you should really stick to it. It is more helpful when examples are given. We're definitely not looking for simple answers like no or fix this. That doesn't help us. Unless fix this is pertaining to maybe a typo or a misspelling. That is understandable, but if we can't figure out what the hell fix this means pertaining to a specific sentence of sorts, we definitely don't know what to do, and we don't know what you were thinking. We're not mind readers, so you definitely need to give a little more indication as to where your thought process was. It is your job to stick around to the end. Don't ghost on writers. It's one of the most annoying things in the world when you just ghost, just vanish into thin air, and we never hear from you again. It's like you're dead or something. We would rather you just give us a message and explain to us that something came up and there's no way you can finish, but you did get something done and you'd like to send your feedback. That right there is the best scenario that we hope for when it comes to beta readers to begin with. A lot of writers already expect at least a few of their beta readers are going to ghost or just come up with excuses as to why they haven't done it yet. Many never even get to it. Many never even message you back when you ask about anything. Make a writer happy and just give them a message. Don't just junk the feedback you did give on the manuscript. Definitely send it their way, even if it was a page or two. Above all, before you commit to reading, you need to make sure you have the time to finish the job. Writers depend on beta readers as a part of the writing process that leads to publication and selling their books. This is their livelihood in some cases. Be upfront about your time constraints and the length you're comfortable with reading. Don't commit to reading some long book when you are not able to fit that into your schedule. I have made the mistake of agreeing to read a very, very long book, and when it came down to it, I just didn't have the time. The only thing you can do is be honest, but don't overcommit yourself. These are mistakes a lot of people make. In the end, it kind of puts a bump in the road when it comes to the writer. Now they have to figure out another beta reader, and they were definitely depending on your feedback. So do not overcommit yourself. I hope everyone is enjoying the content that I'm putting out on this channel, and if by chance you are, feel free to subscribe so you get notifications when I post new videos.